Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back. It is 9:19 right here on News and Views on Salam Media. We're now crossing over to Lenasia after the international crossings, and we're going to be talking with Anisa Moosa. She is a social worker by profession, and she's here to talk to us about a very important issue this morning. Her new role, of course, and the work she's going to be involved in the upliftment of the welfare of women and children. Assalamu alaikum to you, Anisa. Welcome to the program and many congratulations on your new role regarding your work. You're going to tell us all about it. Welcome to the program.
Jazakallah so much. Assalamu alaikum to all the listeners and to you, Sister Ali. It's great to be back on Salam Media after such a long time. I know I'm in a bit of a new space, but it's a very relevant topic. Victim empowerment, gender-based violence, and femicide. It's something we see all the time. Sometimes we tend to deny it or look past it, but it's bigger than us. And I'm hoping that we'll have many more conversations around the topic.
Okay, so currently your new role is as co-ordinator of the National Shelter Movement of South Africa. What is it all about and how has this come about? And how is it different from the role you played at Islamic Helpline?
Okay, so it is different. Like I said, the focus is on gender-based violence, particularly for NSM around sheltering. And it's an organization that was founded in 2008. It serves as an umbrella body for 96, at the moment, 96 shelters. And it's a national organization. There's representatives in all the provinces except at the moment Northwest. And its vision is to move to a society where women and children are free and safe from gender-based violence. And this we do by having a united voice. I think shelters having a united voice to also, against gender-based violence, but also a voice for women and children. And I think for me, the focus is on victim empowerment. So you asked me about my role at the Care Line. Yes, we worked in addressing psychosocial problems in the community, and which included domestic violence. I think here the emphasis is more on victim empowerment, while it was on mental health and overall psychosocial services. So, both have an important role to play. And I think often there's lots of overlap. And I think we need to work holistically as well. So even some of the issues that we find even among sheltering is the effects of addiction, for example, trauma, the role of mental health when helping women. It could either be an effect or one of the causes. So there's definitely an overlap.
So, Anisa, let's talk about victim empowerment. Let's talk about the shelters. How many people can you house at any given time? What are these victims? What sort of situations do they come out of? How do you protect them? And how do you empower them?
Okay, so obviously the capacity of each shelter will depend on which province they're in, their own constitution, their own policies. But I think when you ask about what kind of circumstances people come from, I think it's so varied. Like I say, it doesn't discriminate. Gender-based violence doesn't discriminate. You see women from all kinds of backgrounds needing support and assistance. Particularly the program that the focus of the program I was hoping also to talk about is our 24-hour toll-free helpline. And through that, then we see women who are so traumatized by the domestic situation. They want to get outside. There's lots of desperation. But also it's influenced by circumstances. Not all of them are in a position to leave. Some of them have children. We need to take those into consideration. A lot of them come either if they're working and they have children, then placing them in a space that's close to their life commitments. Particularly right now, one of the biggest challenges is DSD funding, the threat of cuts. Shelters are having to close down, and that's placing great pressure on our ability to place women in suitable shelters in the area. The ability to meet criteria. So I'm just throwing out a whole lot of things. Alhamdulillah, I must say that through the helpline, if I can just maybe give you some stats from our latest stats, we taking in a year up to almost 7,000 calls. Our ability to place is just under 4,000. That's big numbers, right? In spite of the fact that the challenges around sheltering and space in the number of shelters that we have. So yes, there are restrictions. Also, there's criteria. Shelters may do testing for drugs, pregnancy, again, logistical issues. So, like I said, I'm also throwing out a lot of things. I know that what would help the helpline at the moment is when callers call in to have their ID number, let's say, for example, on hand, to have a consistent contact number, details of a next of kin or an alternate number, because placements are not always available for very. So you can get a caller now, and in a few minutes we might phone. There might be availability. If we can't get a hold of a caller, for example, the placement may not be available, let's say, for example, by the evening or the next morning. So those are, we encourage even callers to respond immediately or as soon as possible, and that really helps. I don't know if that answers your questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. But the other issue is we're going to be by way of the shelters, and you're going to tell me how long you keep the women there. You're going to empower them to do better for themselves, to be independent when they eventually leave the shelters. But are we as a community failing in our duty by not going to the core of the problem? So we're here to assist the women and their children, but the problem itself has not been resolved. The abusive partner has not been addressed. The abusive mother-in-law or siblings or whatever it is, whatever that situation is, that issue has not been addressed. And if the person goes back to that household, she's back in a very vicious cycle. Is she going to be able to escape that, or to cut herself off that situation? It is easier said than done, is it not?
It definitely is, and I'm glad that you brought it up. It's a very valid point. I think some of the goals of the NSM is also to focus on, we mentioned holistic, so we look at exit plans. Some shelters don't take women in who don't have an exit plan, so that's one of the challenges also. But what happens is that it forces women to think about the way forward, and also, as far as shelters are concerned, some of them have programs in place where they offer training, skills development, capacity development to help them to become a little bit more self-reliant, more employable where possible. So like I said, we also look at how we at the NSM also tries to look at how we can capacitate the shelters to be able to empower women. And some of those things also include where we have opportunities for training of staff, training of beneficiaries, providing psychosocial services, trying to access resources in the community. And when you said, are we addressing the issue? Like I said, going forward, one of the big things that needs focus is also identifying stakeholders on all levels, in all sectors, getting everybody involved, understanding that gender-based violence is not only an issue that needs to be addressed by NGOs or by government. It's everybody's responsibility. We as Muslims also, and even everybody, male, female, young, old, if we're going to effectively address gender-based violence, then we have to start from prevention. So it has to include prevention, where we're educating people about healthy relationships, to treatment. So, and that includes obviously sheltering, then empowerment, capacity building. So it's a whole range from prevention, the continuum from prevention right up to what we could call aftercare. When a woman leaves a shelter, and how self-reliant she is, or is there the potential to rebuild severed relationships? So, in every case would be different, but I think it's being able to provide a holistic service from start to finish.
Shukran, you've shared a lot with us this morning, though the focus obviously is on the 24-hour toll-free shelter helpline. We've got the number displayed on the screen, and we also have it to hand if anyone calls in for the number. Talk to us a little bit about how effective you believe this toll-free number is going to be. What sort of situations are the people manning those lines going to be able to, the situations they're going to deal with, and the type of support they offer to those very distraught people that are on the other end of the line?
Okay, so yes, you're right. When women phone in, they are very distraught. We have 6 social workers. They each have shifts. One of my roles is obviously to provide support and supervision for these ladies when they get the calls, uh, and obviously then to look at the best way we can. So obviously upskilling them again, doing training, doing supervision, providing support for them. So obviously when we provide support for them and help them and capacitate them, then in so doing, we can also provide a better service to callers, also looking at gaps. So we look at gaps in some of the what we offer to callers, but also what are the gaps in training. So in one of the things and one of the objectives of NSM is also to build get enough information to provide effective research, to look at methodologies, to look at approaches, to look at stats. So when we have that information, obviously we can address the gaps, and also, like I said, capacitating the call center social workers. Again, I think it's important that we look at bringing in other stakeholders, including so what we're picking up a lot is issues with addiction, issues with mental health. So giving support, because it's a call center, obviously that support, we cannot always provide therapeutic intervention at a call center, but then we would refer to suitable resources where callers can get the right kind of help.
Alhamdulillah, and this is going to be, as we speak, is it already operational, and it is a 24-hour service?
Yes, it's already operational. In fact, it was based in Western Cape up until last year, and now moved to the National Shelter Movement office in Lenasia. It's been it actually started just before COVID, around 2020. So, Alhamdulillah, I think more and more people are coming to know of the helpline. More and more people are using, like I mentioned, if you look at the stats for a year, almost just under 7,000 calls we're getting. Placements are just under 3,000. So those are significant numbers, and we can see them increasing also. Like I always just say as part of the care line, you don't know if the numbers increasing is a good thing or a bad thing, because obviously, the more calls you get, that means there's more people in need. But at the same time, if people are using a service, that means there is awareness.
Absolutely. Do you personally, as a social worker, believe that this is the way to go regarding people calling in? At least they have someone at the end of the line that is hearing them. You don't give them advice because you don't know the full story. but at least there is someone to listen, and then you can say, come in and meet with a counselor or whatever the situation or whatever you believe is appropriate for that particular caller.
Definitely. You know what? I think having a 24-hour helpline makes the service accessible to people. And it's toll free, so it's not costing you any money. So, anyone can reach out at any time. It's not like I have to wait for work hours to be able to reach out. I can call anytime knowing that there's going to be someone on the other side of the line who might, whether it's to listen to me, whether it's to connect me with a suitable placement, whether it's someone, but just that connection, the ability to reach out and have someone on the other line.
And someone who hears you, who understands,
Definitely.
with empathy, understands what you're going through. And I think in a lot of situations, that's all what someone who is in a very desperate situation needs. They just need to know that they're being heard. That being said, we're going to be wrapping up. Let's say a big thank you to you, Mariam Umar. You say salam alaikum. May Allah reward you for your efforts. It doesn't go unnoticed. Alhamdulillah for that. Anisa, let's wrap up. Is there anything of importance you'd like to share with us before I let you go?
Yes, actually, the NSM recently started conducting monthly webinars. So please watch the space, our website, keep an eye out. We will be addressing very relevant issues related to gender-based violence on a monthly basis. So I'm hoping that our listeners will log in and register for those. We will be communicating details of those webinars. The next one should be the later part of May, but we will communicate the exact details, and we look forward to seeing um, a lot of our listeners register for those webinars. I think it's important that we all get involved in whatever
In-
capacity, personal, work, whatever it is.
Inshallah. Congratulations on your new role as the coordinator of. Let's see, my controller's just taken off your new, all right, your new role is coordinator of the National Shelter Movement of South Africa. Much success in this role. I know you've been with Islamic Care Line for over 20 years. Let's hope and pray that you spend another 20 odd years in uplifting a lot of people, a lot of women who need to be uplifted. So, congrats, all the very best, and assalamu alaikum to you.
Inshallah, and Jazakallah to you, Sister Ali, and Jazakallah to all the listeners for having your time. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. The time is 9:17. News and views moving on Salam Media. Actually, it's not 9:17. It's 9:37. So I do apologize for that. Next, we are going to be listening to a pre-recorded interview by Salaila Makwadiri, one of my co-presenters here at Salam Media, and this is building bridges, Cyril Ramaphosa's engagement with the business sector. And of course, the other person here is Mohammed Kaka of the Al Baraka Bank South Africa CEO. And they are, of course, discussing the economy. So let's take a listen to that. And once we've listened to it, I think it's an important discussion. We'll be wrapping up by talking with Kasim Khan, the Premier candidate for the Western Cape province for the PAC.